All right, we are live. Welcome back to the review of day two of the four test match. We've got that intro smooth and ready to go. I'm just
Well
happy about
done.
that. I think,
Congratulations.
yeah, I think we can go off the live and I think I'll be happy. But I don't know how happy we are as Indian fans looking at how the day played out. There's
Yeah.
lots to talk about with the heroics of Rishabh Pant walking out to bat. I saw a bit of conversation on Twitter if this is the
Mm.
right thing to do for Rishabh Pant, the human being.
Yeah.
What if the ball hit the foot? I mean, the Yorkers were inevitable. So was this the right call? But again, yeah, we'll get into that. And then how the Indian bowlers bowled.
Yeah, a lot of things to get into. Very interesting day's play, not something that India would have actually enjoyed. Us as Indian fans, too. I think at one point, the watching was just a pain to
Yeah,
watch, to be
that's
honest,
true.
especially as for us because we have to watch the entire match. Oh, it was a dreadful watch, but it is what it is. This is what you get with Test cricket. Whoever's just joining in, thank you so much for coming as usual.
Yeah, hi Naveen, hi Arvind, Vedang, Vishnu, Shrikant. I know you've been going on for a while. Sandeep, Surya, Ravi Singh with one insan. A lot of familiar names, a lot of new names. We love seeing new names. Naveen, I think you were there in the morning, if I'm not wrong. And here you are, so that's good. Karthik, hi. All right,
What's up?
so like Praatibh said, if you're joining us for the first time today or for the first time ever, hit that like button while we are live, just because it'll help us push this stream to a lot more people while we are live. So a lot more people will join in. You guys can have a whole chat and we can talk to a lot more of not only our subscribers, but anyone that this goes to. Hi, Jordan. Hi, DOF, Anirudh. Today was sad, says Karthik. Yeah, one of the sad days. If you're joining us for the first time ever, we will have a lot of segments. We will talk about the positives, negatives, things to improve on, a stat, and a very interesting technical analysis. And then we'll address the chat and talk more to the chat and to you guys. So yeah, well, let's get things started. Let's go to the scorecard.
All right, so as usual, it has been a dreadful day's play. Actually, not as usual. After a while, India has had a really bad day in the field. We started off overnight with Jaddu and Thakur batting on 19 respectively. They came in today, not much for Jaddu. Thakur played well. Eventually, India getting to 358 for the loss of all of their wickets. Rishabh Pant did come in despite him being ruled out of the rest of the series. It was really a surprise to have him there. We'll more on that possibly soon. But yeah, from there, England absolutely stole the show, stole the day, not only with the wickets they got, but from there, 225 for 2. Duckett and Crawley putting pressure like no other. And suddenly, at just the end of day two, England are trailing only by 133 runs with 8 wickets in hand and 2 batters in Pope and Root who have got starts. They're looking good for a big one tomorrow if India don't fix their game up. But yeah, that's a bit on the scorecard.
All right, let's go to the positives of the day, and that's Merit and Brit.
All right, so it's not been much of a day in terms of positives. The first thing I have to talk about starting from the morning itself is Shardul Thakur with the bat. Yes, he had his fair amount of whatever getting beaten and all of that, but I think all in all he played well to get whatever runs he did get. Looked to take the attack whenever he could, whenever the ball was full, the trademark off drive and whatnot. And I think it was a crucial knock, especially now in the context of the game with the way England is batting. Those are all going to be important runs. But from there to talk about the man Rishabh Pant, I know eventually he scored just 17 runs, but for him to score even those 17 runs in the situation and all of the things around him with the handicap that he came out to bat, nobody was expecting it. We had put up a stat today in our pre that this is how many runs Rishabh Pant has scored, and he's going to fall short of the record for most runs by a wicketkeeper in a test series in England. He's gone past that. We didn't think he would be coming out to bat. He was sitting in the dressing room in whites when the initial report was that he would not even be coming to the ground. So he was sitting in whites. The commentators were making fun of whether or not he will actually come to bat. From there to come out and to play bat out that time, he was there for a fair amount of time, scored 17 runs with Yorkers being balled non-stop to him. I think all of that put that together, and you've had one of it reminded us of possibly Graham Smith when he came out with that fractured hand to bat. Very similar. And although this is not Pant's most fluent innings by any means, this will be one that basically shows us how much Test cricket means to him. Just the resilience and grit, I think that is a huge positive for India. He's the vice captain. And that's something we honestly are missing in the field, but that just goes to show the commitment of this man. And that's a huge positive, man. I think it gives a great glimpse into how India thinks about Test cricket, how this man looks at Test cricket, and the fact that he's going to be around for a good 8-10 years. So this is great science for India, hopefully. But yeah, apart from that, Something that did not go as per India's plan was giving Anshul Kamboj the new ball. However, I think that was really good from Shubman Gill because Anshul Kamboj is someone who is very impactful with the new ball. That's when he's potentially at his best. And it was just nice to see Shubman Gill give Anshul Kamboj that confidence, give him that faith, even though he might not have repaid it right away. I think it's a great sign from Gill to back his bowler, even though he did go for a few runs, still gave him that third over. After that, I think it was kind of inevitable for him to come off because the runs were just going everywhere. But still, I think good from him, and he eventually came back and did get that wicket. So he will definitely get confidence from this, and something to look forward to is how he shapes up as he gets more comfortable in this fixture. Lastly, I think Jaddu was the standout from all of the bowlers because right off the money, he started off extremely well. He was on the money, he was accurate, he was varying his pace a little bit. And apart from that, he honestly looked the most threatening, even though that first over went for like 15 odd runs. From there, for him to be able to control the innings and eventually get the wicket, I think Jaddu did a good job considering the rhythm of the game itself and all of that put into account. He did well with the ball, and India will hope for more of the same tomorrow.
All right, so that's been the positives. Let's go to splits versus Brits, that which is the negatives or things to improve on. First of all, I love the chat of how you guys are answering each other's question. Yes, Harshdeep Singh and Akash Deep are injured, which is why Anshul Kamboj gets his debut. So that's that. All right, so let's start off with Washington Sundar. Right, the man scores 27 of 90 balls, and you would take 27 from a 90 balls from any other batter, any other lower end batter, but not someone who's in a conversation of potentially batting at number three. When you have a batter walking into bat with a broken foot, the least you can do is stick around. And I thought Washington Sundar's dismissal was just, it was just bad. It was bad at that time. It was bad for the situation. It's bad for his own performance. And it is bad for him to just solidify himself as someone who can consistently score runs. Yes, he wanted to take on the short ball. We saw that with Sai Sudarshan yesterday. But it's Sai Sudarshan's third ever innings for the Indian team. Even Washington Sundar is young, taking nothing away from that. But he still has a little bit of experience. And for someone who's batting with a batter, who's walked into bat with a broken foot, I just thought he should have shown a little more character and resilience. Him getting out at that point shouldn't have been, wasn't necessary at all. Him playing that shot. All right. So if that shot went for a six, of course we would praise him, but we would still be critical about the shot selection. And we continue to do that, especially because he got out. It wasn't needed at that point, especially when Stokes was at it. He bowled 24 overs in total in the first innings, if I'm not wrong, either 23 or 24. And so he's on it. He's on top of his game. He's been the best bowler in this series by far. And that includes both the teams. Of course, Bumrah missed out on one game, but Stokes has been on it for the 4 games that he's played so far, and this is the 4th. So yeah, Washington Sundar getting out at that time, I thought was unwarranted. He shouldn't have played that. I mean, even if he did play that shot, be mindful of the situation with the partner you're batting with and all of that. And then we come on to bowl. Of course, the tailenders didn't really last that long. We come on to bowl. Like Praatibh said, it was great to see Anshul Kamboj get the new ball, but he couldn't necessarily control the new ball the way he did against the England Lions. But you gotta cut him some slack. 5 days ago, he was in Bangalore. And so for him to just take a flight, go to England, attend a couple of practice sessions, and then again adapt to conditions and bowl takes a while for anyone. So I'm not going to be very critical about him. It's his first ever game for the Indian team. After coming back home and training at home and getting fit, he hasn't been clocking a lot of overs after coming back. But yeah, it just takes time for someone to get used to the international pressure, the international match scenario, especially when you're making a debut, you're living your dream. It all comes under that. And I'm not being too critical because in the end, by the end of the day, he was bowling really well to both Root and Ollie Pope. I thought his spell with the older ball was much better, but it was great to see Shubman Gill give him that new ball. And I'm going to be critical about Jasprit Bumrah. He had great first 2 overs, and then for whatever reason, he couldn't control his line and lengths against Ben Duckett, which was a really big surprise. He gave a lot of loose deliveries. He struggled to gain that control with Siraj again coming as first change. To be fair, Siraj with first change and not having the best of control wasn't the biggest of surprises, but we do expect a lot more from him. And so all 3 fast bowlers weren't really doing a good job, especially together. Either it was Bumrah having those maiden overs in the first couple of overs where Anshul Kamboj was leaking a lot of runs, and when Siraj was trying to bowl well, Bumrah was leaking runs, and when Bumrah came to bowl well, Siraj was leaking runs. So there were no 2 fast bowlers doing the job. I thought Shardul Thakur was at one point the best fast bowler of the lot just because of how he is going about bowling. But again, there were no two bowlers in a pair doing the job, and that's what causes a wicket. And the commentators were talking about this. With these English batters, it's more about dot balls than wicket taking deliveries. I didn't think the Indian bowlers, even Bumrah, which was quite a surprise. I thought they were all going for those money ball wickets where they just weren't patient enough. They weren't bowling consistent line and lengths. It's okay to be driven for a four if and it's okay to it's okay to bowl full and be driven for a four and ball that ball again, is the point. You got to be consistent with your line and lengths. You got to pitch it at the same place again and again. You can't just drift it down the leg side to correct your line just because he drove you, yeah, for a four. And I just thought, yeah, they weren't consistent enough. It was a surprise to me because even Bumrah in his first spell, not only was he not able to control the swing, he was looking for that wicket ball. Almost every ball he was trying to get the ball to swing from corners to corners. And yeah, it was a bit disappointing from the fast bowlers. By the end of T, they were 77 for no loss with a run rate of 5.5. As much as they have Baz ball and all of that, we've been able to control it. But this time around, we just didn't. And we were just absolutely terrible with the ball, to say the least. All right, let's go to Oh, What a Grit.
All right, so that's your moments of the day. Ashwin, take care. Lads, can we have some likes? Oh, they can't hear. Dude, you also should know that Ashwin's absolutely dying in the background with cough. So wish him a speedy recovery. Also drop a like so that he can recover faster. But anyways, getting to the moments of the day, there were a couple of things. Something Ashwin also spoke about was Washington Sundar's dismissal itself. I thought that was a big point in the game because at that time Pant was still out there, and I know that there was not much running between the wickets simply because of Pant's condition. But if Washi had just played out that Ben Stokes spell, because Ben Stokes eventually would have had to come off the attack, I think there were runs on offer for India and for that particular pair. So that was a huge moment that easily potentially dropped our total from about 380, 400 to 358, what we eventually got. That's one thing. The other thing is Jaddu's no ball actually before getting Zach Crawley out the very next delivery. Like, I don't know how many of you were watching this live, but Jaddu balled a no ball because of which he had to ball that extra delivery, and that's the delivery on which we got Zach Crawley. So, worked out in our favor to have that no ball. Luckily, it was not a no ball on the delivery on which we got a wicket, but those were the two moments that I thought kind of defined the day. And if the first moment had gone India's way, then it would have been a different story today.
All right, let's go to the player of the day. Player of the day, that is credit for the bid, and that's Rishabh Pant. Of course, man scored 52. Of course, today he only scored 17 runs, but for him to walk out to bat with a broken foot and to do what he did just showed resilience, grit, bravery, stupidity in a lot of sense, honestly. But yeah, we'll keep the stupidity aside. That can be a conversation for him to have. He chose to walk out to bat. It was his decision. The same way Nathan Land walked out to bat with a torn hamstring. The same way Graham Smith walked out to bat. The same way Anil Kumble bowled with a broken jaw. So many of same examples, but yeah, it was his decision. He walked out to bat. He did what he did. And something else I do want to talk about is I also want to give player of the day to Anshul Kamboj. Like I said, like a couple of days ago, he was in Bangalore, and for him to come up and to do what he did. First of all, for those of you guys wondering why he bowls so slow, he doesn't bowl slow. That's what he bowls. Like, this is it's not a personal problem, but this is a problem that I have with a lot of people looking at stats and then not looking at the player themselves. We do it, we look at stats, but we also look at players, is what I'm hoping. But the point is, Anshul Kamboj in first class setup, bowling in India has an average of 24, which is great, which is fantastic for a fast bowler. And for him to succeed in India, he should have something because the pitches in India, especially Ranji Trophy. So yeah, he doesn't bowl those 140, 145 plus, but he can control, he can consistently bowl those line and lengths. Is it good enough in the international setup? We will slowly find out. But to disregard him just because he doesn't bowl 140 plus, I think that's too immature and that's too quick way of judging someone. He is someone who can control the new ball. He is someone who can bowl well with the old ball. We've seen that time and again in Ranji Trophy in India. In fact, we've seen that in England when he bowled against the England Lions. So yeah, shout out to him as well. Let's go to the quick bit in Brit, which is stats for the day.
All right, so we actually have a bunch of stats. A lot of them are going to be English stats because of how much England dominated today. The first one, no surprises, Ben Stokes getting his first fifer in 8 years. This also happens to be his fifth fifer, which we will get to. But yeah, it's taken Ben Stokes 8 years since his last fifer, and that just goes on to show how good of a bowling form he is in right now. Rishabh Pant coming out to bat today, getting that Test 50, ensured that he now becomes the visiting wicketkeeper in England in Test matches with the most number of Test 50s. He's got 950 plus scores now in England. Now here's another one on Stokes, which is that Stokes has only become the fourth Test player to have more than 10 Test centuries and to have more than five fifers. The list he joins is Gary Sobers, Ian Botham, and Jack Callis. Those are quite some elite names to be around. And this is the stat that in our pre we thought would be it, but Pant has come out and taken over Alex Stewart to with 479 runs. He's now the wicketkeeper batter with most runs in a Test series in England. So congratulations, Rishabh Pant. Last one, and I think I'm proud of this pun. 10 Duckett. That's because Duckett has now got 10 50 plus scores in Test matches since 2022, which is the most for any opener in the world.
All right, so that's been your stats. Let's go to the technical tidbit, and surprise, it's not Jaiswal today. All right, so a question not a lot of people had. I didn't think a lot of people had, but a question that you should have had if you were watching the match is why is Jadeja not getting drift as much as Liam Dawson did get drift? A lot of drift yesterday, and that's essentially because of a couple of things. Of course, conditions and all do come at play, but it's essentially because of two things. If you look at the image on the left, it's Ravindra Jadeja, and you will realize that he's a lot more round arm than he's high arm. And what do I mean by high arm? If you look at the image on the right, you will straight away realize Liam Dawson's bowling arm is almost perpendicular to the ground, whereas Jadeja's is not. Does Jadeja get drift? He does. If a lot of the times when he was bowling in Australia or even in India and even in England, in fact, before he did get drift. But this is where the second factor comes into play. Liam Dawson yesterday was not only flighting the ball, but was bowling a lot more slower than Jadeja has this entire series. For whatever reason, he wants to bowl really, really quick this series. And that's another reason for why Jadeja is not getting a lot of drift, because he's bowling, even if he gives it a little air, he's bowling very, very quick. And for drift to occur, you need to give ball a little more time in the air. And these are essentially reasons for why Liam Dawson, for example, was getting a lot of drift yesterday, whereas Jadeja is not at all, at least for now. All right, let's go to addressing your chat and let's talk to the chat a little bit.
What's up, lads?
Do you think that South Indian states? I'm not even going to take that question. Nimesh, all right. Nothing against Anshul, but I expect our pace bowling try to maintain 135 at least. I was fine with NKR bowling 130 because he can swing the ball both in and out. But so can Anshul Kamboj. I get you need pace.
Plus,
and we've been
Anshul-
spoiled by choice because of the
is
last
true.
few years.
That's true. But Anshul was touching 135. It's not like he wasn't. Maybe it was a little more effort for him to touch that much. Could have been that. For a matter of fact, because of how soon he's been put into this test match, there's a good chance he's just tired and jet lagged.
True.
So
Yeah. Is Thakur really an international bowler? It's time to let him go.
the thing is, how are India playing him? They're not playing him as a frontline fast bowler. That's something you need to take into account. They're playing him in a very similar sense to NKR. Of course, the conversation becomes about whether or not Shardul Thakur should be doing more with the ball. But then it's also about how you use him. When at least that was one thing. That's another thing actually that was good from Gill today, is that he used him a little more. Cool from Gid. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and AMN, I will research on him tonight. That was the plan after the live, to look him up, to read more about him. So don't worry about that. If you're joining us tomorrow and if you want to have a conversation about him, we will have that at 2:45 when you come for a pre-match day. All right. Is it only me that I find Sanjay Manjrekar irritating and so anti-national during commentary? He only praises the opposition no matter what. We read this before going live.
I don't know about anti-national. I've heard him praise Indian
Yeah.
players fairly enough, but is he annoying? Yeah, there are certain takes that he has that are very dicey, so to say.
Is the air just different? Manchester, Crawley performing only there, Indians having trauma from there.
Yeah, I think the historical element of a ground definitely affects.
Also,
how
the
a team
fact that
plays.
these are very, very English conditions. Like, these are the most English conditions we've got so far. And a lot of people did predict that. A lot of people wanted Bumrah to play in Manchester because they predicted this. A lot of seam, a lot of swing. So, yeah. The thing with England bowlers was they bowled more into the wicket, whereas today Indian bowlers didn't do much as today with England in comparison. Your thoughts?
I think the Indian bowlers just missed hitting the right lengths for starters.
Leave right. I just think consistent.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
were not consistent at all. I think something Ashwin also covered was how, and this is something that was extensively spoken on comms also, is that every over we were finding a way to give a boundary
Yeah.
delivery, and almost every over England were getting a boundary, and that was mainly the issue. Even if you ball 3 good balls, it's pointless if the next ball is going to go for 4 because
True.
all of the pressure is released. Especially with the way England plays, it's the boundaries that really gets them going.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And the other thing is, it's very interesting you say that because during the first session when England were bowling, even though they were getting wickets, a lot of commentators were talking about how the English bowlers should be bowling a lot more fuller. And Broad was reiterating the fact that they should be bowling a lot more fuller and not hit the deck. In fact, Jofra Archer's pace today and yesterday was one of the slowest in this series. He's only played 3 matches, but or oh yeah, 3 matches. But yeah, slowest because in theory, which is a theory the comms were talking about, is how he was trying to bowl it a lot more fuller. And it's interesting you say that English bowlers were trying to hit the deck because I didn't think so. It's interesting that you thought so. But a lot of observation was made of how there was an effort by the English bowlers to bowl it a lot fuller. Right. There was some talk about pitch direction being changed. Can you explain what it was?
which direction?
I don't know what that's about.
Can you give us a little more context on that actually?
It's not all done for India. Tomorrow morning, if we get quick wickets, we can turn around. Hope we have overcast conditions.
I feel like even if we do have overcast conditions, if India are going to ball how they did today, then there's no point of having those conditions. Because to be fair, these are the most English the conditions have been. And if anything, I think India have just taken that for granted and not been able to put the ball in the right place. Yeah.
Boys, why can't BCCI implement data collection of players and managing them? The IPL money can build good data collection and analytical power, which can improve scouting. BCCI have
They
invested
do.
a lot
Yeah.
on data collection,
Yeah.
and not just international Ranji players, state players in fact have data collected. Not just numbers and averages and all of that. They have a lot even during fitness drills. So every NCA camp, these 16-year-olds have their data is collected. So yeah, BCCI doing tons of work in terms of data collection.
Yeah. I
But
think it's another question if you were to talk about the best way to use the data,
yeah,
interpret the data, that's a conversation to have. But as far as collecting and providing data to players, I think BCCI is already doing a good job at
this
that.
is interesting. Why didn't Jadeja come on sooner?
I think the spinners were already introduced soon enough. Maybe they could have come a little earlier, but
Yeah,
I think this is one of the earliest they've been introduced in the series, so to
true.
speak.
Put hands on heart. Is the series gone? I sadly feel we've lost, and it's gonna be a bitter end.
Damn, you all have. I don't know if you've lived through 2011. That was quite the year.
Against
The
England.
kind of the kind of battering that we were getting today
True.
really took me back to those days.
Vidwan Insan, boys, go on, go on. Today I understood that Stokes doesn't only have some personal issue with arch rivals Australia, but he also wants to thrash us Indians every time. When we thought we are up, Stokes just gets a wicket. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Stokes, yeah, man.
Been the story of the series,
Yeah.
honestly,
I mean, he's the highest wicket taker in the series. I think the best bowler in the series.
by
If
far.
Bumrah played all 4 matches, all 3 games until now, maybe he would have been, but I think Stokes is by far.
Yeah.
Question: why was everyone consistently missing the lines with no slope to blame? Which is interesting. Why do you think all the Indian bowlers, including Bumrah? I have a theory actually. I think it's
Good.
because of swing. Just
Yeah.
because until now there was no real swing in the ground, like in any of the grounds. The fact that Chris Wokes today morning was missing his line and length a little bit and then he got back.
Yeah.
This says something.
I can also back that actually with an example. If you'll see all of the bowling today, most of it was, especially with the new ball, the bowlers staying on
Down
the
the
leg
leg, yeah.
side. And that's when you're trying to ball those big
Yeah.
outswingers, swing it from around leg and middle going to off. And when that doesn't happen and it just goes straight on, that's when you get those boundary balls. I think TOF was also mentioning it in the chat.
Yeah. Old Trafford pitch was east to west, but I guess due to some issue with sunlight, they changed it to north to south. Oh, there you go. You've answered it yourself. Damn, I did not know that. Assuming Kishan comes into the squad, Kishan doesn't come into the squad. It's N. Jagdishan, a Tamil Nadu wicketkeeper batter. What a beautiful batter. I feel like there would have been other options though, because I mean, I don't think Jagdishan's going to get a game. I hope not. I mean, I hope not in the sense I hope Dhruv Jurel is
Jurel
picked
should
ahead
get
as a
the.
wicketkeeper.
Yeah, yeah,
But Jagdishan is a almost, I think he's an opener, if not
yeah.
top 3 batter. And so then I didn't understand the replacement. So there are a couple of other great wicket keepers in Ranji format,
Shevatkar is
yeah,
there.
who are middle order batters,
Mm.
scoring a lot of runs. Right. After 2 hours of maiden that Bumrah bowled, he called staff for maintaining level of pitch. Oh yeah, why was it so? Do you want to explain?
I think, I mean, just the wear and tear in terms of the crease area itself having a lot of indents. That's one thing. Maybe your foot is not landing properly.
And it can cause a lot of injuries.
Yeah, lot of momentum. I think how many times the body force? 8, 10
Yeah.
times the body force on that landing foot. So if you're not landing right, you're not going to. I wonder if that's also a reason that the bowler struggled. But I mean,
They play Ranji. You have- It's also the fact that also if you don't know what indents or what he's talking about, think of roads in Bangalore. That's what it is.
for people who don't know about roads in Bangalore, there's a little bit of road and there's more of less road.
Yeah, basically. All right, so
Damn,
Praatibh stuck. We got
I'm
it.
back.
Right. Why can't India use KL as a wicketkeeper and have replaced Pant with batting all rounder? Because KL Rahul is just not a good enough wicketkeeper for the Test format.
Yeah.
Period. And I don't think KL Rahul. I mean, I wouldn't know, but I would assume as an opener, I wouldn't want to. That's not true. I would, but I don't think KL Rahul as an opener in the Test format would also want to keep. That's just so much work. There's a reason why you hardly see wicket keepers in the Test format also opening the batting. Because you're not only going to be mentally drained, you'll just stop focusing on the ball. All right. Did he forget a Madrasi since 2012 made India invincible?
Ashwin?
I
I'm
think
so
so.
confused.
I have no idea. We really don't have bowling depth right now. Maybe it's due to form issues, Siraj workload management, Bumrah, I don't know, and Shardul has no form. Yeah, true.
Yeah, Shardul's not an out and out fast bowler that you can rely on consistently. That's definitely the case.
Fighter and rage bait just makes you look bad. I have no idea what. Do you guys also feel England is figuring Bumrah out a little in the series? I mean, Bumrah's been long enough for every opposition to figure him out. I don't think Bumrah's mystery is what separates him. I think it's his think tank in his head that
Yeah.
separates him. Like in batting, this partnership, bowling should be done in the same manner. There was no pressure from either side, just leak runs on the leg side. Naveen, that's spot on,
Spot
dude.
on, yeah.
Yeah. Was addressing a racism. Oh, okay. Do you think spin was introduced by Gill a little too late? Interesting. A lot of people, my
Interesting.
father, in fact, thought that.
To be fair, I also tweeted that from the account that, I mean, it was already going so bad. How much worse could it get if we got spin? So, from that point of view, yes, possibly we could. But I still think, I mean, whenever Jadeja was introduced, I think 26th over, if I'm not wrong, I think that was okay.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I just want to say this. We love our community. We love the chat. I don't know what the comment was and if it was racist to begin with. I don't even know who it's directed to. But let's not have that in the chat because if you do have that in the chat, you're possibly not going to see this channel on your YouTube account. I'll just say that much. So let's just avoid that, right? It's stupid to be honest when someone brings up, right. So yeah, that is what
Yeah,
we will
fair.
avoid. Right. Like in Shardul Thakur is an absolutely pathetic bowler. I just want to rip the TV where he bowls. Stop giving so many runs.
Hey, to be fair, in his defense, he beat the bat the most number of times in a certain time period.
That is true.
He looked very likely to get a wicket, but I get where you're coming from.
That is very true. Yeah, Shardul Thakur 5 overs, 35 runs with an economy of 7.
Dang.
Insane. And I don't know, Lambao. I think that's what. Quoted that racist comment. Appreciate that. Thank you for that. The day Bumrah doesn't perform, a bowling looks very ordinary and not threatening at all. He's the best bowler in the world, but he can have an off day. The rest of the bowlers have to step it up. Utkarsh, I
Yeah,
agree with that.
that's true. Yeah, I feel like the bowling just goes flat when Bumrah is not stepping it up, which is
Yeah, but that's the problem with the balance of we often talk about balance of the squad, but you also have to see the balance of the pace attack. Right. So
combinations.
Bumrah is an attacking bowler, might or might not get you wickets, that's fine. Still an attacking bowler. But if he has an off day, we have another attacking bowler
In
in
Siraj.
Siraj.
Yeah.
And then now we have a debutant who doesn't bowl express pace, still trying to find his feet. And then you have Shardul Thakur. So like, yeah, it's in this series so far, it's not
Mm.
only the weakest bowling lineup,
Yeah.
even as compared to England's first test match, where on paper it would have looked weak. This is the weakest bowling lineup.
On paper, in person. And I think we've also just honestly been spoiled by how good
And
India's pace quartet was under Kohli and Rohit to some extent.
uh, Gill's field set was off. Starting with Duckett, there was no fielder where he was aggressive. When he was aggressive, thoughts. All right, so do you have something to say
I
about
mean, couple of things. I think they did start off anyways with a deep point for Anshul Kamboj at least to duck it,
that?
and they did, in some sense, stop a few boundaries because Duckett would have slashed at those and got fours, but he got ones and twos. So I think that's okay. I also think the slips and all were okay despite us getting hit. There were still catchers. Couple of things he could have done differently, especially when the bowlers were that much on the pads, is possibly have someone catching on the leg side. I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that was missing.
But then I also feel like the argument would be like,
That's
what?
not the
Yeah.
line you're supposed to
Yeah.
ball
Why are you
anyways.
setting a
Yeah.
fielder for the bad ball?
True.
Anshul Shardul made sure we don't miss Prasid that much. Shouldn't it be the opposite? I don't know I don't know who you're insulting. I mean, in this you're not insulting, but like making fun of Prasid. But Shardul didn't really bowl particularly well. A
Yeah,
lot
that's
of you
why, no?
guys so
They were
shouldn't.
so expensive that we didn't miss Prasid.
Uh, I'm an old man. Uncle Weeds, this kind of comment makes me agree with you. All right, now I gotta know what. All right, I think we should drop Bumrah next match. We have won all the past 10 matches without him and only one with him. As what you want, the stats don't like. As much as you don't like the stat, and the only match we have won is without him. Lol. And
Worth a shot at this point. He's not going to play the fifth test anyways.
hopefully he does. I mean,
I don't see India winning this match. I'm sorry.
Anirudh, Ollie Pope reminds me of Ian Bell. That's interesting. His cover drive does remind me of Ian
Mhm.
Bell. I think Ian Bell was more technically sound. Ollie Pope's
High
head
elbow.
falls over as if there's no tomorrow. All right, so we'll take a couple more questions and then get away. If we lose this test series, who should we blame? Gambhir's team combination or a fast bowler's form? What can we learn and how should we prepare for the next test series? We'll talk about this after the fifth test match. Shardul looked more like a replacement batter for Karunaya than a replacement for Reddy. Oh, good lord.
See, this is the thing, right? This is the problem with us also as fans to some extent because in the first game we were all talking about Shardul being the better bowler, which is why he was picked over NKR. He batted horrendous. We had a problem with that. Now he's batted well and he's bowled horrendous. We have a problem with that. So it's unfortunately what you're going to get with Shardul. He's going to be weird on most days. And then there comes a day where he performs like no other. And then
True.
you're like, this is why we have him in the squad, which is really sad. We need someone more consistent.
Yeah. Do you think India lacks a good part-time bowler like Joe Root is for England and Sachin was for India? Sachin, Sehwag, Ganguly. Ganguly wasn't part-time.
Ganguly was fairly military medium, but
Fast,
tough.
who can bowl some handy overs with what we can bring. To be fair, I don't think they're using Jaiswal.
Yeah,
I
they should.
genuinely don't think. And Jaiswal's up for it. Every time he's asked about his leg spin, he's so enthusiastic. I just don't think he's used enough. I think if he's there in the squad, might as well use him.
Yeah.
No one else bowls medium pace. Rahul is a pure batter. Gill is a pure batter. Jaiswal does bowl a little bit. Sai Sudarshan, I don't think I've never seen him bowl. Yeah, then you have Rishabh Pant, possibly Dhruv Jurel, and then you have Jadeja, and then the top five don't bowl except for Jaiswal. Sachin was also. Oh yeah, Sachin was a
Yeah, he was a
pretty.
really good bowler.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Karthik, that is a good point. I want to know what Karthik said. Privileged fans spoiled with options.
True.
I have a question. Do you guys do this full time or do you guys do this alongside? Either way, highly appreciate. Hey, thanks, man.
Thank you.
The former to say anything. All right, Kamboj took a wicket. Shardul gave gifts to Duckett. Right. We'll take one last question. If you guys are comparing Anshul and my goat NKR, I hope he at least takes wicket of Crawley. Right. It's okay, guys. Leave it. We will win. Let the team experiment. We are not Pakistan where we have reservations within team time. I don't know what that's about.
Oh, crazy. But yeah, I think it's a fairly young team. They are going to take time. It is technically a transition. This is Shubman Gill's first test series. It's in England. It's a tough one. The fact that we even won that one test match, the fact that we are still batting fairly well, it's good signs. It's just that India will have to start finding the
Yeah.
next crop of bowlers and get them ready. All rounders. Yeah.
This is very interesting. I agree with that. I don't agree with anything, but like, so you said Shardul proved why he wasn't picked in BGT. So this is the thing, right? Like because a player is not in the squad, we think he is the reason we are losing. Like during the Border Trophy, when we were live and when we were losing, a lot of, not you guys, a lot of people talked about how Shardul would have made the biggest difference in the squad. Now Shardul said no one wants him.
True.
I'm not saying the same would have been with Arshdeep, But
Mm.
like when Anshul Kamboj wasn't in the squad, everyone
Everyone
said,
was
"Yeah,
raving
why is
for.
Rana being dropped? Sorry, picked ahead of him now? Anshul's here, not everyone's." So the point is, you gotta give some players some time.
Yeah.
Shardul Thakur has got some time. He still has this game and possibly the next because NK is out of the series.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just gotta deal with what we have right now, and this has fortunately or unfortunately been our life for the day. Thank you guys for joining us. We will for this test series, we'll still keep the things. We'll still have the same things going. Hopefully, for the fifth test match, we have something new.
Oh yeah. Let's go for it.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you guys for supporting us. Like always, thank you guys for the questions and for the chat that you guys have going on. We will come back tomorrow at 2:45 p.m. to talk about how India needs to bowl better and what India needs to do to get more wickets and hopefully have a bat tomorrow itself. Potential,
Not
maybe.
happening.
I think it might just happen. But all right, like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for supporting us. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Peace.